We are back at the start. This is the start of event number 42, the under 23 women's lightweight double. In lane 2 closest to us, we're looking at Vesper, lane 3 Seattle, lane 4 Quad Cities, lane 5 University of Victoria, lane 6 North Star, lane 7 Kingston.
This is the start of a string of some small boat races. Of course, after this, we're going to have the men's under 17 single, followed by the men's senior lightweight pair, the men's under 23 lightweight double. So the next few events, just some really small boats, can be some pretty exciting racing. Typically in an 8, it's difficult to kind of build up the boat speed necessary to overtake a lead if a lead is built up earlier in the race. So 8 races, especially at the club level. Typically not too many lead changes over the course of a race, but some small boats, it can be a little more exciting, a little more variance over the course of the race.
These are under 23 women, so a lot of these athletes will be students still in university, and they are lightweight, so they would have had to step on a scale this morning and every day that they were racing, so Thursday in the heats, Friday in the semifinals, and today, Saturday for the final, to weigh 59 kilograms. And they are off. You can see these women in the doubles. They are moving their hands very quickly to get in and out of the water as fast as they can and take as many strokes as possible in that first 100 meters just to get the rate going.
Yeah, it does look to be still, some bumpy water here up at the top 500 meter. You can just see the headwind as it's generating momentum over the course of the 2,000 meter course here. The waves are really starting to build up into that top 500, especially the starting gate area. So that, I'm sure, is posing some challenges to the athletes as they're backing in and getting into the gates and trying to get their lines so they can not worry too much about their course. They're steering as they get off the start gates and really sprint away.
The 2 crews in the middle lanes, lane 4 Quad Cities and lane 5 UVic, of course, posting the fastest times out of the semifinals yesterday. But I know we were talking about the conditions yesterday were very challenging, particularly for lightweight women. It was a very stiff headwind yesterday. So even today with a bit of a headwind, not quite comparable yet to the conditions they would have raced in yesterday.
I believe Sarah Craven, the stroke seat in the University of Victoria crew in lane 5, I believe she won the under 23 lightweight single earlier in the week. So it'll be interesting to see if she can hang on and bring up her teammate Kate Morstad and see what they can do against Quad City, who have also had a really strong showing so far this week at Canadian Henley.
For sure. Sarah Craven, originally from Saskatchewan, she raced for Team Saskatchewan in the Canada Summer Games last summer. She's going into her second year at the University of Victoria and will be racing in about 2 weeks' time in New Zealand with the under 21 team at the Trans-Tasman Series.
That is really exciting. But here, crossing the first 500-meter pylon, it does seem to be Quad Cities in lane 4, about a boat length ahead of what looks to be lane 7, Kingston?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at Greta Chase and Jane Carlton in that double on the far side. Greta, we're rowing for Queen's University.
Of course, we had the new head coach of Queen's University in here in the announcers booth yesterday. I believe Katie's coming in later today. Katie Brugling, new head coach at Queen's University. She is a local here, St. Catharines. She was my coxie for a number of seasons as we were in high school and even the first couple of years of university. She attended Clemson University as a coxie, went back down to the States as a coach the last few years, now moving back to Ontario, to Canada, returning home. Not only did she get married last week, but or maybe I think 2 weeks ago, but also new head coach job. So really well done to Katie.
It's a good shot there of the full field. You know, when we talk about lightweight rowing, it's kind of the great equalizer. Everybody in this field, they're within probably pounds of each other, a couple inches here and there in terms of height. But these are women who they're used to training at a very high level, I'm sure, but also having to manage, weigh-ins and being at a target weight throughout their competitive season. These women are racing towards the finish line for the Jack G. Burkout Trophy. Jack Burkout was a founding member of the South Niagara Rowing Club in 1976 in Welland and president of the Ridley Graduate Boat Club from 1985 to 1991. So Ridley Grad, of course, one of the many clubs we are very familiar with, and they are literally right below us right now, Abraham.
Yeah, I guess we are sitting just meters above their boat bay here at the Henley Island in St. Catharines, and it looks to be that Kingston has closed the gap a little bit that Y Quad Cities had built up, but still really anyone's race. University of Victoria and Seattle still in the hunt.
Really, this is kind of first, second, third could change hands here in the next 1,000 meters. Still half of the race left to go. Last year's winner was Craftsbury. The stroke seat, Grace Joyce, was bow seat of the under 23 lightweight women's quad for Team USA.
That's really interesting, and not all that surprising. We do see a number of athletes coming into or kind of leaving the club system here. Racing here at Canadian Henley either after a couple seasons of under 23 or World University Games, or doing that immediately after racing here at Canadian Henley. So it's pretty impressive, and I think speaks to the standard in the last almost decade that is required to have success at the senior level here in the club events at Canadian Henley. It is a lot of high performance development athletes, but of course strong club programs still continuing to stay competitive and have those athletes kind of almost on the same tier and certainly able to get the better of them sometimes.
Interesting to note, in Y Quad Cities, this is an under 23 event, so you may expect that they're all 20 or 21 or 22. Brenna and Audrey in the Y Quad Cities double that is having a phenomenal performance. They're actually both under 17 athletes, so they would have raced in the under 17 double, the under 19 double, and the women's under 23 lightweight double. So they're lightweights, and they are not. They won't turn 18 this year.
That is remarkably impressive as they're approaching the 1,500 meter mark. 3/4 of the race done and dusted, and those two girls out of Y Quad City doing a really good job leading the pack so far, 3/4 of the way through the race. You can definitely see some fatigue setting in, particularly I would note Audrey in the Y Quad Cities does look, her shoulders are down, getting hunched, feeling the fatigue. So we'll see if, particularly as those slightly younger athletes you just noted, Ali, see if they can hang on to the lead they've built up over the rest of the field. Certainly the rest of the crews will be charging, trying to take that Henley gold. Of course, here, Canadian Henley, only golds are awarded, but we'll see how much Y Quad Cities can hang on to their lead as University of Victoria and Kingston try and charge ahead. University of Victoria right next to Y Quad Cities. Looks like they have closed a bit of the water, a bit of the lead. Having that crew right next to them, they'll be able to draw off the energy and kind of feel that they're back in the hunt. Kingston struggling, I think, perhaps maybe a little bit in terms of not having a crew right next to them to work off of, to build off of, but really sending it down to the finish line.
For sure, these women, we're talking about Saturday. It's the penultimate day of this regatta. Tomorrow is the last day. So the fatigue is here. We've dealt with heat, we've dealt with rain, we've dealt with wind. Let's see what happens in this last 250 meters. It looks like it's becoming a three-boat race. Y Quad City's not looking like they're necessarily hanging on to that lead that they built in. Let's see what happens. University of Victoria just charging for the finish line and looking incredibly strong doing so. But I wouldn't count out Kingston Rowing Club.
It does look like University of Victoria does have their rate higher. They're rowing a little cleaner, maybe a little shorter, but really sending it to the finish. You can see the fatigue out of Kingston and Y Quad Cities. I think it's going to be University of Victoria. And this last kind of 100 meters, just charging to the line. Lots of energy. They can, they just kind of sat in that third, fourth place position for most of the race, and it looks like in their red Hudson boat, they are going to charge ahead, take this race. The women's under 23 lightweight double looks to be Sarah Craven and Kate Morstead out of the University of Victoria. Really well raced, those two.
That's a very smart race. That's exactly what I would say. And for all the women in that final, that was an incredible race where things tended to move around. But unofficially, the University of Victoria winning that under 23 lightweight women's double in a time of 7:54.42, almost 4.5 seconds over the 16-year-olds from Y Quad Cities, which that's a round of applause right there, hanging into that event.